This episode of Your Morning Drive is brought to you by Fireworks Co-working. They are a creative co-working space located in Marietta, Georgia, focused on supporting the local community and uplifting creative entrepreneurs. If you want to try out this beautiful space, this podcast room is just one of the many available rooms and spaces available for you and your company to work at. If you want to try them, you can. Use code DRIVE at checkout and you'll get a free day pass. So, if you're working from home, if you're working at an office that you don't have to go to, if you're tired of working at your kitchen table where you have to listen to your kids or your spouse or the lawn people in the outside cutting the grass and it's too loud for your Zoom meetings. Well, you don't have to worry about that. You can try out Fireworks Co-working in Marietta, Georgia. It's right down the street from Kennestone Hospital. They are the presenting sponsor of Your Morning Drive. They offer me a beautiful space for me to be able to record my podcast with all of the creators, business owners, and other individuals that I get the pleasure of interviewing, and they can be your home too. So either go to the space, tour the place with the staff, tell them Logan Lewis from Your Morning Drive sent you, or if you're booking online, again, use code DRIVE, DRIVE, for a free day pass to try the space. Your Morning Drive is also present to us by Good Days Canned Cocktails. Good Days are a classic cocktail brand created in a convenient, ready-to-drink canned format for any occasion, whether it's a pool day, a boat day, a beach day, a graduation, a wedding, a bar mitzvah, anything in between. Good Days are there for you. Good Days are ahead when they are in your cooler, your fridge, your anything in between. Good Days has your back. If you want to be one of the first to try their drink, you can do so by visiting drinkgooddays.com/pages/find-us to find a store near you selling their drink. Of course, you must be 21 years of age to consume and purchase. Strongside Fitness is another partner of our podcast today. They've been voted the #1 gym in Cherokee County for 4 consecutive years. Are you tired of feeling sick and tired? Are you ready to take control, lose some weight, and feel like you did 20 years ago? They've got you. At Strongside, their group workout classes, led by certified trainers, create fun and safe workout environments that has helped thousands lose thousands. Strongside puts the community at the center of what they do. Everyone is welcome, everyone is treated equally, and everyone is safe to be there. If you want to get a free 7-day pass, visit their website, www.thestrongside.com. That's www.the-strongside.com, and start your fitness journey today. Strongside, we make people better. Welcome back to another episode of Your Morning Drive. I am Logan Lewis. I am your host today. We are live from the Fireworks studio in Marietta, Georgia. If you enjoy what I'm doing here, please do me a favor and send it to just one friend, one coworker, one ex-girlfriend, your dad, your brother, somebody. Send it to one person that needs this podcast to start their day. If you want to send them a link, you can send them either something on Apple or Spotify. If they want to watch it in full on YouTube, they can do that as well. Everything, all of those platforms, everything's just at Your Morning Drive. If you want to support, you can by following along on socials. Instagram and TikTok are the main ones, Facebook as well. But the most activity is definitely Instagram. So Your Morning Drive, again, just as it sounds, it's spelled just the same. And that's where you get like behind the scenes, show announcements, clips, all of the things. And yeah, that's the best place to follow along. My guest today is a dedicated mom and passionate business owner who loves to explore new ideas and challenges. She has a background in education with a master's in website design and development, as well as marketing and graphic design. In her small free time that she has between her kids and their sports and activities and building businesses, she enjoys all things outdoors, hiking, kayaking, DIY, the gym, you name it. She is driven by creativity and a strong desire to make a positive impact in everything she does while remaining completely humbled and grateful for where her faith and hard work have taken her. Please welcome my new friend, Casey.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Awesome.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. You are the now second interview I've done based on my posts in those Facebook groups.
I saw that. Yeah, I got tagged in it. I have some great friends that are encouraging and pushing me to do more. And so it was definitely out of my comfort zone, but I was excited.
But you're here.
Yes.
You said yes.
Yep.
It was you that was tagged a lot, and then it was Goodies and Grace that was tagged a lot. And actually, the day that we're recording this, in 3 days, her episode comes out.
That's awesome.
So it's going to be out and ready to rock, and everyone's going to, I'm so excited. We recorded it at the shop.
Oh, of course.
And with the pink everything, backdrop, it looks fantastic.
Yes.
I can't wait. And she was amazing.
She's awesome. And it was really fun being near where she was building her shop because she did a lot, if not, I'd say 80-90% of it herself. So she was needing tools and would mess up projects and like just kind of show the community along the way how she was doing it on her own. And then just being creative and making it really personable. So it's a lot of pink, but it's really pretty. It's a lot of fun.
When we were in there, I don't know how many times, like as I'm like watching her tell her story and everything, I just like would get my ADHD would kick in and I would just be like, oh my God, this place is gorgeous. Yeah. And the fact that she did it all herself is just, it's amazing. Her
videos of making things and the bloopers is what we would call it, were like awesome. And it was really neat just to bring people into her story that way. And I mean, it's not, I know with the pink, it's a lot thinking it's more girl related, but I bring my son in there after school sometimes because he loves all the treats and it's still just, you haven't seen anything like it. So I love supporting her and just watching her story, and she's great. She's always supported me, and it's awesome.
Yeah, she's a great gal. And as she's telling her story, there's so many moments that I just was like, because like it would just, you'd think it's going one way and then it would do a hard left or a hard right. And I'm like, oh my God, like all these plot twists. I didn't see this coming.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, incredible. So who is Casey Reynolds?
So I feel like I will own saying kind of a jack of all trades, but also in the same respect, if I'm not good at something or I'm asked to complete a task or create something for someone, I 100% don't mind getting it out to someone else if that's something I can't do. So I think a little bit of that mentality was from when I was teaching. And if we couldn't figure it out, we wanted to bring in other sources. We were trying to teach and instill that collaborate mentality. So always like be humble enough to go, that's not my strength or that's not my area. So I think that has driven a lot of projects and just working with other designers and other people in the community that I'm from that are better at things than I am. So I love being able to bring them in and then I help them on projects. And I think you just have to be ready to modify and change it as you go. And there's so many things that change and just your career. Careers aren't really what they are or what they used to be or what you would think. Mm-hmm. So going from teaching for almost 7 years, never thinking I would leave that to what I do now is there's no way I could have pictured that that's kind of how that would go. So I don't know.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge piece of not only because, you know, when you start a business, a marketing business per se, and you're like, I can't wait to help people with all the things because marketing is just this huge umbrella that owns, I mean, digital is its own umbrella under the big umbrella. And so, you know, when somebody texted me the other day and she said, hey, I don't do websites. And she knows that I do. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I know I don't do them. So I'm just going to throw them your way when it happens. Right. And I feel like that's a huge, like, it's a maturity thing too. It's like realizing that you don't have all the answers sometimes. Oh, yeah. Because sometimes people will come to me with things, I'm sure, and you relate, and they're just like, here's what I want to do. And you're just like, whoa.
Yes.
I would love to help you, and I will help with every piece that I can. Right. But I will, like you said, I'll be honest and say, I know someone that could do this better than me
Yes.
and more efficient. And like, if I do it, sure, but give me the time to learn it.
Right.
Whereas I know this person can just get it done.
Right. Exactly.
So I feel like that's a big like maturity thing in business, because it's like, of course, I want to do everything and I want to learn everything and do everything for everybody, but that's ultimately not realistic.
No, you try to make everyone happy. That's the fastest way to failure. So you can't do that. And also, what you do might not be what everybody needs. And one thing I learned this from my mom when she had her business. It is a slow and steady. If you do I can handle that. I can create that. I can do this. I'll show up there. I'll present that. You will spread yourself so thin, and you're not going to get any of one task done. And that's something I had to learn really quick, because I love what I do, but I can take on too many projects, and then my ADD gets just, and
you see your to-do list, and instead of doing any of the things on the list, you just sit there and you're like, you're staring at your computer and you're like, oh my God, when am I going to do all this?
Yes. And a great recent example, I was creating a logo for some friends of mine that are opening their haunted farm. Wow. And haunted houses and that niche is kind of hard. You're like, is it gimmicky? Is it this? And it's a lot of money, but it's a family-owned farm. And so we're really focusing on the logo at first. I love thriller movies and all things like scary, disturbing stuff. I mean, I had like almost 30 different like versions of stuff with the logo and got just so carried away with it. So stuff like that. I've actually had to start setting a timer for projects and then go, and we're done, and then move on to the next one. So I'm very much a list person, but I have found like lists downstairs and lists in that bag and lists upstairs, and it'll be the same things, because I'll just not get that done.
Because you'll just keep writing the same things down.
I'll just keep writing the same things down. So that's actually been something I've improved on in the last couple of months, because I feel capable of doing so many things or so many projects at one time, but I've learned I can't.
Yeah.
So respecting.
And that's okay.
Yes. And I don't ever want anyone to pay or expect something or want a service, and then you're like, okay, I can meet that deadline, and you're like 3 months later. If it's on the client, that's different. But if it's on me, that eats at me to not meet an expectation.
And you know what? I have had experiences in the last few months with working with people, and I used to take it so I don't want to say personal. That's not the right way to say this, but waiting on the client versus waiting on yourself, because there was a time where if I was like, hey, can you, email them on a Friday and be like, hey, tonight, can you send me X, Y, and Z so I can finish this weekend? And then they don't send you anything over the weekend.
Yep.
I used to just sit there and be like, oh my God, when they do respond, they're going to be like, what's taking so long? Yes. And I'm going to have to somehow politely say, well, I asked you 4 days ago to send me something and you didn't. But now, I was working on this website project last weekend, and I asked for something, I think on a Wednesday, and I didn't get it until Monday. And I didn't even think about it.
Yeah,
I was just like, okay, so that just frees up my time this weekend.
Exactly.
Because I can't proceed until I get this thing.
Right.
And okay, I'm just going to chill.
And they're not waiting on you. So, it's kind of like if you send a pre-interview survey several times because someone did not fill it out. Or filled it out and got stuck and then sent it. And I mean, I actually got stuck on the bio. That's where it hung me up, because I'm like, I don't know how to talk about myself or what I do, because it feels like yeah.
It's that I get that a lot of like, what do I say here? Mm-hmm. And, some people will put like, oh, I'm a mother of 3, I do, or a father of this, or, or they'll say something like, one person one time said like, I am everything I need to be. It was like a self-love thing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I love this and appreciate this, but that's not what I'm going for.
Right.
Like, I had to break it down and be like, I need you to tell me like little tidbits of your background so I can form like a brief couple sentence intro for you when I interview you. And they're like, oh, and I was like, maybe I should go back to the form and like say like list accomplishments, list, major things. And that's the other thing too. And I'm sure you related to this also, that things could always be improved and always be better.
Oh yeah.
Like, even if you think you got something down, you're like 2 weeks later, you're like, it could be better.
Yes. Constantly revising. There's not really, I don't feel like I'm ever like done. I'll work on things ahead of time, like templates for client packets or templates for different little contracts or different things that if I get that done, then when somebody needs it, I have it ready, but I don't ever feel like it's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't
know. I feel like I never have a final draft of everything I'm doing.
Right.
Everything's just evolving over time.
Right. And I like that. Okay. For example, I have an in-house photographer, videographer that he has his own business, and I built his website and his stuff after he already had a huge kind of following and presence, but he didn't have that to like send people to. So when we were building it, I said, let's do the about me, but instead an interview. And what was funny, he didn't know I was in the same where I want to be behind the scenes. I don't want to be in front of anything. He is the same way, but he is very charismatic and funny and makes you feel comfortable. But if him in front of the camera was like a whole other animal. And we did questions kind of ahead of time, similar, just kind of conversation. But I threw him a curveball at the end. I said, everybody, at least in this area, knows you pretty well or follows you, sees you walking around town with all your equipment and your gear. But what is something that people probably don't know about you? And he just kind of looked at me. And I don't like being in front of the camera. And it was like, woo, you would never think that. So just getting to know people and how to better support them is a big piece of who I am and what I want to do. And if I can't help them, or, it takes a team, or it's something out of my scope, or I can't meet it, the deadline you want. I mean, those are all things I'm okay being okay with,
like,
and
transparent about.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like there's just too much time wasted when you're trying to be everything to so many people, and then you forget about you. And so I'd rather be good at a few things and then build on those than just explain that I'm good at all of this and I can't do it.
Yeah. Just in talking about this, like there's a few things that I say I do for people. And as you're talking about it, I'm like, I should just stop telling people I do them. Because ultimately, I mean, like when I do those couple things, and I'll tell you what they are off air, but every time I say yes to doing it, I'm initially like excited because it's like, wow, new business, new client, yay. Yeah. But then like when I go to actually do it, I'm like, why did I agree to this?
Yes. Yep.
And it's like, I'm just going to stop. Like you said, I'm going to pick 3 things that I know I'm good at, and I know that I can do successfully for people, and just hone in on them rather than trying to be this all-encompassing guy.
Yeah.
But it's tough to come to that place though. Because of course I want to say yes to everybody. When you're in those Facebook groups and people are like, I need help with this, I need help with that. Yeah. It's like, I want to help. Yes. But it's like, I can't.
Right.
Or I shouldn't.
Definitely. Especially if there's a time frame on things. And then I don't ever want to cause someone else to be behind. But then if they get me behind, like if it's on a website deadline and then they're stalling, so then my next project's running behind, I've had to be firmer about, I've got another project that's starting and I have to manage my time for your project. So if it runs over, then there's no guarantee it's done here. And I feel like too, and it can be almost any industry, I guess, but especially if it's your own business and you're building things yourself and working for that at the same time, then you're fighting against such a fast advancement in everything else. There is somebody that can maybe do it cheaper, faster. So you have to find, why would they pick you to do that? Yeah. And I think that's a lot of how some of the things that I built my businesses on, where it was very much word of mouth to begin with, which was a huge piece because people have faith in you. And then you're like, now I got to show it. But then also being cautious. It doesn't help if you're an overthinker either. Like at all. Me. Oh, I mean, every single time I've done any kind of charcuterie catering thing at all, I literally probably didn't eat that day. And I am so frantic, and it is usually way above what they ever thought. So I still get nervous when I do them because you're presenting like something you make. I mean, I'm nervous about website stuff or graphic design stuff, but that's different. I can change that like right then if I need to. You put something out that you put together with your brain, with what they didn't give you any parameters, and you just have to go with it, which is fun. But then it's also like, I hope they like it. Like, I don't know. Yeah. It makes me so nervous. But then, which is just silly because the same people have me do multiple events, or they're the ones that refer me out. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, right. You're like, you still like me?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
like there's this person I've done social media for her for about 3 months. And it's a kind of business that I have never worked with before. And I was nervous about like, well, how do I build this kind of page?
Right.
So I've done it for 3 months or so, and the following count isn't great. I'll be transparent about it. And she knows it too. But the other day I was like, hey, do you like everything I'm posting? Do you like I want feedback? Like I'm a constant, again, like I kind of want the feedback every once in a while. Do not hold back.
Right.
You're paying for something. You deserve to give feedback on it.
Exactly.
So she said, oh no, I noticed that the like count or the comment count or the follower count isn't astronomical, but people are still reaching out to me and inquiring or closing deals with me. She was like, so I don't care if I have 4 followers, as long as people are consistently reaching out about the services I provide, then that's fine with me. And I was like, oh, that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
I was like, do me a favor. And every once in a while, when you do get somebody that comes from social media, just let me know, just so I get that little like pep in my step for the day.
Good job.
Just that little small victory of like, hey, they saw that ad that we posted together. And,
and it's hard too, because I say like we are like a performance-based kind of society. And so then to do things for and not get a feedback or approval or whatever it is hard, because that's how you gauge everything. I mean, like if you're a kid, your grades are performance-based. How you play is based on, your skill level. And so but then I really think just even this year, it was where if it's slow and steady and I'm like, I'm getting busy, or that person turned in a referral and that's a major client. So, and also I'm also appreciating that, I don't think I could handle 5 or 6 at one time anyway. So if they're coming and I can focus in on one huge project, or this one company has like 4 websites, or they only want social media, or they only want some new client packets, because I'll do just documents for people and things. So the more that I find that kind of peace with what I've got to work on, the more I get done. So then when they do, I'm getting better at efficiency and being faster and realizing my inabilities or restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it has gone through where it's 4 or 5 people want something at one time to like 1.
Yeah.
And so I'm being good and working on that, appreciating when it's coming at a steadier pace.
Yeah.
And not freaking out because I don't have 5, 6, 7 things going on at one time.
Right.
Even though it feels like that when you're designing something, it feels like that because every component is a feature.
For sure.
So I don't have a like designer I use or any of that. It's all me. And that reduces overhead and that reduces things. But my graphic design component is huge, because then when I'm making something for someone, I already know how it'll look printed on a shirt versus leather.
You got to think about all of that.
All
a lot
of
people
that.
Don't.
No, and I work with McStats Printing in Cartersville. They've been around for a really long time. They outsource a lot of their graphic design because they don't have time for the back and forth. And that's what I do. So they know I can send it to them in that format. Same with some friends of mine that do projects where they engrave on wood or they laser cut on glass. If they say, hey, I need it in I can send that to them. And then they know it doesn't bother me to send back going, hey, it came out this way. Can you try it again? And so that's just how we work. So I like to collaborate with others. I like to send things to go, hey, can you look over this and send it back to me? And then I do that for them too. So I feel like I'm constantly just making sure I'm doing what's expected and then holding boundaries when I need to make sure I'm doing a good job on the projects I have.
Yeah.
So
you said something that's caught my attention. I'm curious on what you mean by it. You've said you do like client packets. What's a client packet?
So if someone reaches out, whether they go through my website or someone's, says, hey, we're needing this. So I have a form. It's just a quick one that's personal to my business. And I make these forms for others, but just tell me if you've got like a website, you already have information.
So it's like an onboarding thing.
And then once they fill that out and we talked, and then we probably had a phone meeting or we met in person, whatever, when they're ready to start, I have a new client packet and it's got a welcome thing. I explain services and what it means to be a website designer versus a developer, and then the graphic design piece. And I also have it where it's basically bulleted as well. Because you look at something visual and it's got a full page of writing. I'm not reading that.
No,
I don't want to read that. They don't want to read that. But I never knew who is also part of their team or who it could be sent to. So it's all included, but it's very custom to that person. So I embed their logo in it, and all the notes we took, I put in there. And
is it something that's physical, or you send it to them in an email?
I send it to an email and like a booklet, and it just opens like that. I can print it. I don't ever have anybody that wants that because it's like, just send it to me so I can review it and then I can send it to someone.
Yeah.
But it explains what I do and like our in-house photography stuff. So that way, if like you're needing updated headshots or you want some cool new graphics or drone footage, like we have that kind of stuff. So and then as we go along, I send them update pieces. So it'll have like this little timeline of, all right, we're at phase 1. Here's what's included and what we're doing. And here's what you've done. And I'm checking it off and they get this visual back of like where I'm at in the process.
I like that a lot. That's nice.
Because if you're paying someone and you're like, I don't see them, they're not bringing me anything.
Right.
I want them to feel very communicated with. Like, here's where I'm at, or here's where's a delay. And then every now and then I'll send an update where it's like, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I need from you. And then here's what I've got left. It just helps make it simple. And then,
and it leaves it so that they're not always wondering like, what is she doing?
Yeah. How's it going?
What am I paying her for? Yeah. Right. Like, it's important to I always think over communicate versus like it being just like dead air.
Right.
Like I will blast you with shit before I under blast you,
right.
You know?
And I've always, I guess some of this kind of came with teaching too, is paying attention to colors and what things look like. Like I know you're going to have about 30 seconds. You're going to spend time looking over something. You're going to skim it. What do I want you to skim? So that's why you're going to get the bulleted version first. The second page is going to have all the explanations so that if you send this to like an IT guy or your partners or whoever, they're like, I have no idea what that actually is. Yeah. So I'll put that in there, but that's usually the lingo that they don't want to read.
Right.
So, but it's there. So I spent like 3 weeks making this huge series of templates for the packet. And then whenever I have someone want one for their company, if they want to send it out to their future partners or their employees, I can create it custom for them and I just duplicate it and then change the colors, change everything. Sure. So I've made a couple of those recently. They're pretty cool. I embed a lot of digital signing forms, making things fast, final approvals. Is this good? Sign here with an audit trail. And that way, like when they sign it or acknowledge it, it sends it back to you. So it's just really easy way to keep track of stuff.
Can I ask what you use to do all that?
So I use Jotform is one that I like a lot because you can make several different templates. And then I use Canva, Adobe Photoshop, like a lot of different ones. It really depends on what they're needing it for.
Sure.
But I do really love Canva Pro. It's like really versatile. It's got a lot of cool stuff. I make things inside some of my website platforms, like in Wix, and then I actually can use it and convert it to something completely different. I had a client that needed a presentation for one of their new clients, and they sent me all the work. I embedded it. I kind of went off what their color scheme was and what their audience and who they were talking to. And then we just communicated back and forth what they liked, didn't like all throughout the process. So I would send it going, hey, review this, add some comments on the side, send it back to me, and then I'll update it. So.
I'm looking at this Jotform right now. You know what's crazy is, and this is, everyone can relate to this. How many freaking softwares or little companies that exist like Jotform or Canva or, Notion or Zoho or Stripe, or how many of those companies exist?
It's insane. It's insane.
Almost every single time I sit with somebody that's a business owner, they're like, oh yeah, I use this. And I'm like, what the hell is that?
Right. Yeah.
And then I go and look it up and I'm like, this is so cool.
Yes. Flowdesk is a cool one. So you can use them with your own clients as a business owner. It's a marketing. So if you're and there's a couple of other ones that I recently came across where if you're doing marketing for several businesses and you want to use ChatGPT or AI stuff, well, that's great, but that's another thing for you to manage where you can import a lot of what you do or your client does, and they do it for you. So you pay like this one lump thing. If you're smart, you break that down into your client's pay.
Sure.
But I want to say it's something like $100. I don't know. And all they do is help market that stuff. So if it's like, that's a delegation of services, basically was the way I look at it, is bringing in a team of people or relying on someone else to help do your same task. Just so you're kind of freeing up as if you were having another person in-house do something. You don't have to pay a massive overhead. You send things, they send it to you before they ever even share it. And you can do it on different platforms. So I've looked into that as like, because I've got a lot of marketing stuff. I do content planners where if we know there's projects coming up or things for this company that won't release for different things, I go ahead and put it in this visual planner. I send it to them so they can see, here's what I've got built for you guys. And then I release it depending on the platform, like certain times of day, certain days a week. There's those like windows of, it's like research calibrated time of when you're gonna have the most people on that platform for different reasons. Like Fridays at lunch and then at 4 are huge high times because you're looking at stuff for the weekend. People are just scrolling. So there's little calculated times throughout the week and different days where that is high traffic time. And you knowing that is huge. Otherwise you're just bogging down the algorithm or
you're
making
like,
random
you're
stuff.
shooting blanks.
Yeah. You're not getting, no one's seeing that. So, and if they see it, it's like, okay, who saw it? Great. 5 people or 40, but are there clicks on it? Yeah. How long do they stay looking at it? Did it turn into traffic later? Yeah. You know, for you. So,
yeah. You know what's crazy about this? And I'll just be transparent with you. So I was almost a little this morning, I was kind of worried about doing this with you only because I offer very similar services that you do.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, am I shooting myself in the foot by giving this other person thing? But then I thought about the fact that I did this interview with this great business owner a few months ago who's also a marketer. And I was nervous to do it with him too. And he said, bro, there is so much food out there.
Yes.
And there's enough for us to all eat.
Yes.
And I was like, that's a great mindset.
Yes.
Because that is also another closed-minded thing of like, why would me as a restaurant owner help you, another restaurant owner? Like, why would I do that? I want people to come to my restaurant, not your restaurant.
Right.
But it's like accepting that, no pun intended with the food analogy, but there's enough food for everybody.
Yeah.
And to not want to work with other people in your field is incredibly aggressive and closed-minded. And like you said, like if somebody throws a project at me that I'm like, I can't do this, but I know someone up the street that can.
That's exactly it.
Like, it's so like just sitting here and listening to you talk about like your different processes, it just makes me think, A, that's really cool, but B, I am so unorganized.
Well, I if you looked at how I create stuff, it is insane. Like, so I'm working on some projects for a local travel company in Cartersville, Take Time to Travel. And one of the girls there does the Instagram. I'm just kind of brought in to do stuff Facebook, but I'm working on dedicated pages for them. So they have a Canva account for one of the ladies in their office. So she shared it. So I was like, my process for making things is probably going to give them a heart attack. I didn't assume that. I just was like, So I was making a flyer and I went to the office to kind of sit down with them one day, and she opened the project that I was doing inside theirs because that's what they wanted. Yeah. And they were like, so there's like 30 pages to this logo. And I went, okay, so here's my process. If I like this, and then I went, wait a minute, I want to duplicate it so I keep the original, and then I'm going to tweak that one.
I do the same thing.
And then they were like, where is the final? I was like, actually, it's at the very bottom. You know, because I'll come across stuff that I actually might not use for them, but I don't want to lose it. I'm like, wait a minute, where was that favicon that I made that had like this 3D look?
Yes.
And I'll keep it. So
absolutely.
It looks, they went, oh, okay. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll keep making it in my side and then I'll just send it over. So that's not.
They're probably like, sounds good.
Yeah. Cause she was just like, oh my gracious. And it was just funny seeing the personalities of how you do that. And she makes great stuff. She'll send it to me to like copyright, read over and everything. And it's very different than my process. It's a little messy, but it all comes together. And then I learn as I'm making things. But to kind of piggyback off what you said about using others. So a friend of mine lives kind of in the back of my neighborhood, Darnell Jackson. He is the owner of Jackson Park. He is also one of these jack of all trades. So the same family that I made a haunted logo for their farm, Farm of Fears, he got in touch, or she got in touch with him, and he was laser cutting it into like burnt wood coffins for on the property as part of a scare feature, as part of their.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he tagged me and he goes like, teamwork makes the dream work. Cause I'm like, because she sent him the logo, because I sent it to clients in like a million formats, whatever they need it in. They don't get it in a locked format. It's you paid for it, you get it. But he was doing some cool stuff with it. Well, it helped that he wasn't far, but he's like, hey, can you come, we're going to come to the shop and like look at stuff. And so there is a lot of crossover where I will help them, they help me. If we need opinions on things or what does this look to you, kind of, sometimes you also look at stuff too long. You're just swallowed in it.
Correct.
So I I love that component. And I've never been where I feel like I'm competing. If you want someone else's services, more power to you. Like, great. If you want me to make your logo and you use someone else to print it, that's fine too.
Yeah.
And I think by doing that, I've gotten more word of mouth referrals because they attest, yes, you're using their service, but you're using that person and the relationship with them. So if you do something for them and they're like, oh, they didn't like overcharge or make it difficult to get that, or they were willing to work with somebody else. Like if they want someone else to build a website, but I did their graphic design, I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know, I don't go, you have to use my services or you can't use it or I won't send it to you. That's just, I just don't operate that way. I think using friends and then watching my mom do that when she built her business is like, she didn't do upholstery cleaning or carpet cleaning, but she had a guy that did. She could have, that would have just been too much. So he would come in and do that work and then she would do others. I've gotten more referrals that way and more meeting new people and being brought into different rooms and meetings and events because of it. So I think that like matters a lot when you're building relationships with people and having them get to know you and you genuinely caring about their success. So then they want to like send you off, even if they didn't use everything you did.
Sure. Do you do e-commerce?
Yes, I have one that I'm still working on, one that I did work on, and that is evolving so much. It is like constantly trying to keep up with the changes. So
it overwhelms the hell out of me.
It's overwhelming. Yes. And I will, if it gets to where they're wanting more and I literally can't, I will find a service or I'll recommend someone in my community that does that because I don't want to fail at that. And that's a big factor, but it's also where there may be people that work for groups where like that person, that's all they do. So I'm like, there you go. You know, they pay you to get started. I'll set it up and it's like, go for like a month or so, but I don't want someone to fail or to not meet what their goals are because I'm out of my comfort zone.
Right.
So.
Yeah. That's the demon I battle a lot is like, do e-commerce. And then I'm like, no, it's so much. Cause I used to work for the small marketing company and they took on a new roofing company and they wanted to do an e-commerce store where you could order every kind of shingle, every kind of shape, every kind of color. And it was just, for it being the first e-commerce store I had ever worked on, it was a monumental thing.
Yes.
And they also had like a Woodstock office and like a Canton warehouse and like a Cartersville warehouse. And I was like, holy shit. And they were like, yeah, we want different prices and colors and styles for each warehouse. And I was like, I can't do this.
No.
And so we ended up calling somebody to come in and help with it because it was, and my boss at the time did not charge the appropriate amount for it.
Right.
Because he just wanted the business.
Exactly. And you don't account for time and you undershort because you're worried about if I overcharge, they'll go somewhere else.
Yep.
If I don't charge enough, I'm wasting time. That for services like that, like what you do, what I do, it is very, very hard because you're charging for more time than you are anything else. And so if they can find it cheaper, faster online, that doesn't always mean it's good, but which is initially some of the clients I've worked with found one of those like gimmicks on social media and was like $75 for a website.
Right.
Or a logo. All right. And then they send it to them in a PDF and they're like, it's locked. Like you cannot do anything with it. So that gets you hung. Plus if something's wrong, who are you actually calling?
Yeah.
And when are they going to get it fixed?
Yeah.
So that's another thing is I can do stuff and I don't ever say I don't work on weekends. I just choose if I want to work on those times or not. If I want to work till midnight during the week, that's on me because this is my time. But
do you work on the weekends?
I do. If I get behind or if I know I've got a client that I'm about to start working with and he wants me to run several of his multi-offices to the point where I may basically be hired on to do all of their stuff. And then my stuff's on the side because he's like, I don't care. I will send more to you. But there's like 8 locations and they're all one company. So the benefit is I can do things from one platform and manage that. We've had several meetings. I'm being very cautious with taking on more than I can. And we talked about that.
This is a big deal.
So he has like an IT guy that does like the servers and things on the back end, which is like, okay.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about that.
Right. He has an existing website, which is okay. It really just needs updated. And then, but when I'm brought into someone who's got something already there, there's the uncomfortable thing for me when they want to transition their person out And then I have to communicate with them after like that email. And I'm like, so
give me
hi.
everything.
Yes. So
I'm
per
gonna be
the last
taking
email,
I'm gonna take the reins. Sorry, just
hope,
business.
Yes, those are like buzzwords where you're like, I hope the transition is smooth. And per the last email 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So I sent you something that I asked you for the WordPress login a month ago, and I still don't have it. So what the hell?
Yes.
Yeah, those are tough.
They're awkward. And or if they're still on there, especially like with WordPress, for example, because that's something too I've learned is other people, other companies, and there's small ones and big ones that do things, they only want to do one platform.
Yeah.
I do like 4 or 5. So I can do WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, Weebly, like Weebly.
Oh, I was like, what the hell is Wee?
No, Weebly.
I was about to immediately start Googling Wee websites.
No, that'd be such a bad branding.
It would be. But also, I mean, Wee, that's, I
feel like if you have a silly market, you could get in there with some of that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
I feel like being thrown to the wolves and learning different things like that was kind of what happened when I got my master's. It was in 2020. We were shut down and sent home.
Yeah.
So we were.
So you did it online?
Yes. Well, it was online anyway. This one's online anyways. It was the coding, graphic design.
Yeah.
Well, I was teaching then. So we were sent home. We were told for 2 weeks from school, turn into like the rest of the year.
Yeah.
I had one laptop. I was doing online schooling, had to teach from computers, and my kids were trying to do their school. I'm like, this can't get any more ridiculous. So, and then our like assessments were basically our professors would go, here is an assignment, go find out this new platform, this new project, learn it, make an account, and you have this due by X. And you're like, I've never even heard of this. Yeah. And so I think that's what made me comfortable when I started doing the website is people would go, hey, we have WordPress, or hey, we have this. And I'm like, okay. I've gotten but definitely bitten off more than I could chew with some of it because they also change it every other month, it feels like. But yeah, so transitioning with new people, they'll still have them on there and you can see their name to the side and the last time they logged in, and then it might be that same day. And then you're in there doing stuff and it's like awkward starfish.
Right, yeah.
Or when they're like, we just really didn't like their work and like it's just dated and they're not understanding what we're wanting. And then I come in and start doing stuff, but they're still in there and they can see what you're doing. It's like, all right, just let me know when they don't have access.
Right. Yeah. Can we just boot them, please? Because I don't want them to just be watching me change shit.
It's like you're spying.
It's
at
awkward.
That point. It is.
It's very awkward.
And it's funny that people that know me personally are like, you would not think I'm not confrontational. They say I have like a bad RBF or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm basically like, please don't talk to me.
Yeah.
And now if it's like teenagers or a sport that I'm coaching is an entirely other thing. So
we haven't even talked about the fact that you were a teacher, a whole ass teacher. For how long?
Almost 7, right at 7 years.
So why the departure from education?
Because it got to where it was heavily becoming more political and more seeing things ran like a business. I mean, literally to the point of kids' attendance started to affect why they weren't at school on the teachers. What can we do to improve attendance? I don't know.
I don't know how to answer that question.
I don't either. Or we would get asked, so they're failing and they didn't turn in their assignments. Like, what are you doing to help them with that? I'm here every day. I do free tutoring before school. I'm just like, what are you doing? What are they doing? Just a huge shift.
Here's a question, and this is going to sound like a very stupid question. Legally,
there are no stupid questions.
Well, you might regret that in a few seconds. Okay. Legally, are you required by law to go to school?
Yes.
So, if you're a minor, how can we improve attendance? Tell them it's the law? Does that not matter? I mean,
it does. And you can you
show up at someone's door and be like, your kids have to go to school?
Yes. They get notifications. It's like truancy. You can't, if they go so many days without it, it gets shifted to counselors and then social workers and they can get served. Kids have gone to court. Parents have gone to court for that. And even to the extent where I was only involved with one student in that chunk of time, and that they went to court over it. It was like 45 days or so many tardies where you're not getting there to like noon. And when they went, I will never forget. I couldn't believe this because at that point I had not had that happen before. Went all the way to a court. But one of the counselors, we were kind of reviewing this a child and what we could do to help the family and whatnot. But they said the judge literally said, I can find them and this gets documented, I can do this, but like, you cannot physically go get that kid and drive them to school, and you can't go put the parent in the driver's seat and get them there. So you're still just.
Yeah. Like ultimately, even if a judge rules something.
Right. There's nothing you can do. And unfortunately, there's just a lot of, I guess that it's mattering to the education matters. It is huge piece, but when you're looking at what are they really learning, and then if you aren't able to meet the need of every kid, and if they're falling behind, and there's whole other stuff where it's just almost impossible to feel like we were making a real difference. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't the only one that left that year. It's just there's an issue. Everyone has their own kind of story as to why, and the push for it. It wasn't anything that I definitely thought I was going to do. So it wasn't like pre-thought. I think stuff just kind of all came to a head maybe for things.
Yeah. Do you miss it at all?
I definitely miss the kids, but it's funny now in the community. So like going to the football games and going to being a part of my kids at church, like the high school and youth group, middle school groups that I'm a part of, I see kids that I taught in 7th grade, 8th grade. And now they're like 10, 11 or 12th grade graduating. And so it's awesome, especially if they come up to me, where I've always told them through teaching, I'm like, I am not going to bother you if you see me out in public. Yeah. I said, I know you guys think we probably sleep at school. Anyways, you're kind of like, why are you out? What are you doing at the grocery store? What are you doing?
What do you mean? You eat cereal too?
What? Like, or they'd be, and I would forget, even if I tried to just kind of like keep to myself, that they would still recognize me. And so I love that they will come to me and say, hey, and hug, or like their parents still kind of talk to me and stuff. So I love the kid part, the actual teaching, the life skills you try to embed.
Yeah.
Just started to feel like, what are we actually doing? And I mean, I had a lot of mentors and teachers that have been teaching 12, 15, 20 years that were like, if we started teaching now or in the last 5 years, we wouldn't have made it to teaching 20 years or 15 years. Really? It just starts to feel like your hands are tied, you feet are in cement, and go figure it out. So I don't know. I feel like it can be a personal thing where you just have to go, I'm not going to get done what I feel like I should. And then I didn't want to cause any issues and just needed a change, I guess.
So why marketing then? I mean, what sparked that?
Really, it was the website design that started it. Yeah. I had a friend that was like, hey, we were told that you make logos and do stuff. I was doing smaller projects for friends. Okay. And then they were
so you've always been like design inclined, just always been good at that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, especially with teaching, you had to make your own stuff. Yeah, you could go buy things like templates, teacher pay teachers is like your huge. But if you're like, I make a teacher salary and I can go make this. So a lot of it was like on the fly. I would have to change the document like on my computer in class, reprint it, or put it up on the board like super fast. If something didn't work, we lost technology in the middle of class. What was my plan? So that adaptiveness just carried through. And so doing small projects, and then that I built a website for a baseball tournament series. I was getting like concussion contracts. I was working with the umpires and just doing things like that they were, you should do this for like a business and not just, hey, we know someone who does this. So that is how it started. And then my first big client was a friend of a friend, and they had an existing website. It was really dated. No one had been updating anything. And actually his wife is the one that got me started with Charcuterie. She posted a cute picture. It was like, hey, can anyone do this? And I was like, I can do that. And never done it before. I helped friends do, some catering, some setups, just stuff on the weekends or whatnot. But after that, it just blew up. Like last fall, I had to separate. I had to go make an official separate business and different licensing and go get food certifications and all kinds of stuff, because I was getting asked to do events, birthday parties and weddings and fall festivals and things. And I was like, oh my Lord. So
and what's funny is I was about to ask the question of, or make the statement of, so you're doing web design and all these marketing kind of services, but then you're also doing charcuterie. And I was going to be like, they're so different. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they're kind of not. Charcuterie is almost the design of, it's a whole aesthetic, charcuterie. Yeah. So,
I never thought of it that way actually until I did an art show at a salon in my hometown.
It's a weird It's art in a weird way.
I never, like, literally that never came to my brain. I just like, I'm a foodie also, but like how things have to look and colors and salty next to sweet and the different colors of things and making it visually appealing is half of it really. And so like I said, I did website. They would want an event. I did that. Well, I was setting up for a salon that was partnering with like the downtown art kind of community. And they redid everything in the salon where it had artwork that was for sale, but also it served as decoration. And they were having their big like VIP opening, introducing them to the artist. So I was at our round table in the center of the salon with a mirror in the middle. And I did this whole spread around it. I didn't even know who the artist was that did the work, but she came through a few times when I figured out who it was. She was just going off about what I was doing. And I didn't really think it was that big a deal. I was excited for the opportunity, but she was like, this is food art. And I have never seen it like this. And so I don't know. I never thought of it until then. And then like, it just sort of clicked. Like that might be my visual. I can't draw to save my life. Those pictures, have you seen those where the kids, like if their drawing was the animal in real life, it's like disturbing.
Yes.
That's my drawing. If you have me draw it, absolutely not.
That's me too. My dog is like just one long oval with a circle as the head.
Like a
and
potato.
It looks like a potato.
Yes.
I'm like
stick figure bad.
Like no one should ever ask me to draw anything ever.
No. I do good with markers, like on a board. I used to draw like fun things on my whiteboard with my kids and they would like a background and they would like do stuff. But if I have to draw on paper or make notes, it looks like a sociopath for handwriting. It's like, no, it's too all over the place.
That's hilarious.
But I never could say that I was like an artist or creative. I think resourceful maybe is what I initially thought, where I'm like, shoot, I got to make this like now, like yesterday, or they needed me to send that back, or I have to change this immediately. So I think that really is what is the foundation for kind of why I do what I'm doing. And I feel good about it is I can change really quick if I need to.
And so that's what you do full time then is the web design and that aspect of it. And then charcuterie as well.
Yes.
Wow. That's amazing.
So I think we're coming into a busy season with charcuterie. I just bought a horse trailer.
Wow.
That used to be a mobile coffee shop.
Okay.
And so it's getting sandblasted and painted right now. And I already have a mobile cart that it's going to be featured for the first time at a wedding expo I'm doing in a few weeks. So I'm nervous, excited. It was kind of like the first time doing something where you come up, can order or like make intakes, was at an Roselawn Art Festival in Cartersville, or the May Market actually is what it is. And that's the first time I did it like that, where normally I'm going somewhere and setting up for an event. This was like, you came to where I was and then you got to pick and choose what I put in your box and then
that's awesome.
Did it that way. So that was like my guinea pig for, is this work? Cause like no one's doing that. And then that's why
is doing that.
People were like, no one is doing it. I went, okay. So that's kind of where the plotting came in.
You're like,
and
interesting.
Okay. And I really do get more pushed on stuff and tagged in things and like, hey, I just signed you up for this. And I'm like, oh no. So I think that's where like the confidence and overthinking thing comes in, where I'm constantly worried it's not going to be good or meet the expectations. So
fantastic. So Casey, there comes a point in every interview that I do where I ask the guest kind of 10 or so questions that I don't prepare them for. And they're all very first date questions. They're very simple questions. Okay. There's a couple deep ones in there, but they're mostly fun for the most part. It's just to help people people know your story now and like what you're all about, but they don't know like who you are as a person. So these will give them a peek.
All right.
This portion of the podcast is also brought to us by StageDive. StageDive is a music and podcast streaming platform that aims to put creators first, meaning your subscription will directly benefit the creators that you love. StageDive does not play ads among their creators' content. Instead, they provide a subscription-based model where listeners can discover new music, comedy, podcasts, everything in between for a fixed monthly fee. When creators attract a listener's attention, they earn a portion of that listener's monthly subscription. With code YMD25, you'll get 25% off your first month's subscription. Now, the subscription is only $3.99 a month. So that means with my code, you can get your first month of listening for less than half of a cup of coffee from Starbucks. That means you can support your favorite indie artists and indie creators for less than $3 for your first month. www.stagedive.com. What is your favorite movie?
Still, I think probably City of Angels.
Okay.
It's an older movie.
Yeah, it's a good one, though. What was your first car?
Oh my gosh. It was a 1989 Honda Accord, 2-door with pop-up headlights. And there wasn't a color. It was rust. But we got it from a mechanic, so the insides worked. I was also the only sophomore driving that year. It was the only one that my birthday fell in it. And so even as ugly as it was, I mean, I had a pile full of friends that wanted to ride it.
Oh, yeah. Because you were just like, I mean, you were just happy to have the car and to be able to drive to school and everything.
Absolutely. I was like, get in this rust bucket. Here we go. You don't have to ride the bus. So
yeah, for real. It's either you ride in this with me or you ride the bus.
Right, yeah.
And I don't think you want to ride the bus.
No.
So what was your first job ever?
I worked at a barbecue restaurant as a server, but it was such a small little restaurant. I did back kitchen stuff too. And so I would leave leave school for high school, go to soccer practice, and then not be distracted driving, changing into uniform on the way to work. Mm-hmm. I even wore cleats at one point. Like we were running behind, I got stuck in traffic and I was like working in cleats and stuff in the back. That was dangerous. But that and lifeguarding, that was my first 2 jobs. You know,
something I'm super passionate about is I feel like everybody when they're young or at some point in their life, when they're young, mainly probably, but everyone should work in a restaurant because you really learn hustle and you learn good teamwork and helping each other out.
Customer
service.
Biting your tongue.
Yeah. I mean,
that was one of the hardest jobs.
For a couple of years and it was tough.
It's
but
hard.
I made great friends and great relationships with people. But when people are like, I've never worked in a restaurant, I'm like, you should. Even if it's a small like coffee shop or something. Like
anything where you're serving someone else and you have got 15 things you've got to manage and it changes your brain. Honestly, I think it does. I think it's a huge kind of factor for like setting you up for what you appreciate and going forward.
Yeah.
As an adult.
A lot of biting your tongue though.
Yes.
Especially when they're wrong, but the customer's always right.
No.
No, they're not.
No.
Nope. More often than not, they're actually wrong. But
yes, they are. But you have to go, okay, that's not what we're doing.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah. Not on the menu. No, I don't even know what you're talking about.
What is a tool that you use to run your business? Software, a tool. I know you told me a couple of them that you wouldn't be able to live without.
Okay, so it's like lame. I guess like my laptop and maybe.
Do you work on a couple screens at home or are you just solely laptop?
I'm solely laptop at the moment. It would be amazing to have.
How?
It's really hard right now. I'm about to have to modify that. Yes.
Piece of advice for you.
Yes.
Rather than going and spending a lot more. So what I would do is when I got my monitor, and it's not a huge monitor, it's probably about this big. It's a good size, is I went to Best Buy because I love Best Buy. Every time I walk into Best Buy, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
But go to their monitor section, but go to the open box.
Okay.
My monitor was marked down $200 because it was an open box. The person who opened the box didn't even use it. They opened the box, didn't even take it out of the styrofoam it was in. And Best Buy automatically marks that down by like $150, $200.
Because they can't sell it for like completely guarantee everything. But if you're like, enough to know that it's okay and there's stuff, that's good.
Correct.
I will definitely
take that advice because it was probably like a $500 monitor that I got for like $250, $300. And it was a steal. Because I was like, I want a nice monitor that's going to be big enough for me able to put, a couple windows in a couple different places. Yep. But at the same time, I don't want to spend $1,000 on a computer monitor. Exactly. That's not even a computer. It's just the screen.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And I'm about to have to, this laptop is great and it does everything I need it to do, but it is a little, it's 5 years old.
Yeah.
And it's it's not a pro MacBook or anything.
Yeah.
And like, I just need something more powerful, something that's got more storage. I'm tired of getting your storage is full. Your storage is full. Your storage is full.
did that yesterday. Disk space. I'm like, what? How? Like, oh my God. Yes. That was killing me the last few days.
And I even have I have one of those little external drives I plug in to offload stuff. But even then it's like, you need more space. You need more space. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah. Especially if you're making things and you need to save it for something because you're like, I may have to go change it. I can't like just get it off there. I've got to have it somewhere floating around.
Right. And with my stuff too, like I'll record so many of these podcasts in a row before I release them.
Yeah.
And when I'm working on them and working on cutting the clips and making the graphics for them, I have in my documents like 6 different episodes at a time.
Yes.
And the video files are chunks of, space at a time. And I'm like, but I need to keep them on my computer because I'm still working on them.
Yes.
And it's like, what do I do?
I just did that with some houses. I was finishing up a construction website and they had 11 custom homes. And the guy that does all the videography and photography for me, he did all the pictures because I have to be able to vet the work. But 275 photos between the 11 homes had to be edited. And then I had to made slideshows to walk through the home, which I was fine with, but I just had no idea how much it was bogging down things. And I'm like, but I have to be able to do this. Right. So I'm like, that may actually be part of the problem too, not just my internet, is I'm like bogged down with
like your
files.
Computer is just like, give me a break.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I still need it. You can't go anywhere.
For real.
Keep it together.
Do you have any allergies?
No, actually, I'm not allergic to anything.
Wow. What an honor.
Maybe BS, but that's about it.
Damn. Rank these 3 in your favorite to least favorite.
Okay.
Queso, guac, and salsa.
Queso, salsa, guac.
That is my answer. It's the right answer.
Yeah.
Because
you can't put anything above queso in that bucket.
Correct.
You could like mix the two. That's what I do. But we have a double dip policy. You can't like do the salsa.
Yeah.
You can't put the cheese in the salsa, but you have to go the other way.
Correct.
You're sharing.
Yeah. It's valid though. I mean, most people would agree with you, I feel like.
I used to ask questions kind of like some of this with when I would teach at the beginning of the year, and it was just to get the kids going. Sure. And it was one of the big ones. I'm like, all right, very, very, very important. I said, pancakes or waffles? And they're like, just this blow up. And I'm like,
that's a good question.
It was hilarious, their answers. And then how they would argue and go over it. And and they were like, it's waffles. It holds the butter and the syrup. Everything else runs off pancakes. They were like, no, they're crunchy in this. And it was like hilarious.
What's your answer to that?
Waffles.
Waffles.
Oh, we would say cupcakes versus cake. And isn't it the same thing? I'm like, no, absolutely not. Do you have to share the cupcake with someone? Is it smaller size? It's just yours. You can say it's just mine.
I was going to say, what's your answer to that?
Cupcakes.
Yeah, for sure. Cupcakes, always. Cupcakes and waffles.
Yes.
I love waffles. Gosh, yes. I don't have them enough. What would be, this is a morbid question, but if you were getting the electric chair, what would your last meal on earth be? You can get it from anywhere. Whether it's something that someone makes in the kitchen or someone's going and picking up a to-go order and bringing it to you.
Okay.
Where from?
It's actually homemade, and it's probably my mom's chicken dumplings.
Yeah.
And fried potatoes and cornbread.
It's a good last meal.
Stuff I only eat like once or twice a year because then I'm like dead for the next day.
Oh, for sure. And then in this, you'll just be, dead
You're
forever.
Like in a coma from the food and the carbs, but it's so good.
Maybe. Okay, so you get to organize a music festival, and you get to pick the 3 headliners. Who are the 3 headliners?
Oh, geez. What's the kind of music festival?
So I'll say it like this. It is your music festival. So it is, you are organizing a festival for, you are the only person in the audience. So essentially, your 3 favorite artists.
That is insane. I cannot pick. I literally have the craziest genre. We'll be listening to Johnny Cash and switch over to like Tupac and then back to some worship. And I would say more genres. I would have definitely like the 90s hip hop. That's got to be there. Yeah. Like that Super Bowl a few years ago, we were like, if your parents are in their 30s or older, they've been waiting for this show. That was like
when it was like Snoop and 50 Cent. And Eminem,
and we were like, and then maybe some dark metal and old country.
Yeah.
It's really like, I can't pick artists. There's no way. I can pick artists in one bucket maybe, but
That's
not
that's an acceptable answer. I like it.
I like too many things.
I'd attend that festival. I might spend a little more time at the old country and old hip hop stage.
Yeah.
But
usually the metal and that kind of stuff is more like the workout music.
Yeah.
But it just depends.
Facts.
Or cleaning your house. That also is a great.
Yes, it is.
Oh.
Yes, it is. When you're not working, I'm sure these days are rare, but what does a self-care day look like for you? A you day, no responsibilities, no kids, no nothing.
I will cook maybe food just for me or a little bit. I don't clean probably up my mess the whole day. Like I will not.
Yeah.
I'll put it back in the refrigerator, but I am not going to do the dishes. I will wear comfy clothes and ignore my phone and nap probably and not be on my computer.
That sounds awesome.
Maybe a massage if I was lucky, but yeah, just detaching, but not feeling like, and also not doing tasks around the house where I'm like, I have to do this or I'm like, no, I would leave the mess and just ignore it.
Just ignore everything.
Yes,
throw everything on do not disturb.
Yes. Leave me alone.
Leave it alone. I like that a lot. What does success look like to you?
Success is where I feel like if you're able to truly feel peaceful and like your heart is invested in your work and it is positive impact on somebody else and it helps them. So it isn't defined by money to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, we need it. That shows like your services are worth the value.
Sure.
But if I'm able to put somebody else up and help them succeed or take something off of their plate that they can't do, I feel like more success with that than probably offering or making something for someone else that essentially helps them.
I like that.
I feel like that would be, and it kind of works with what I do both ways. So
beautiful. And what is a hill that you will die on? Could be something controversial, or it could be something that your friends are like, I can't believe you think that. And you're like, I will argue this until the day I die.
That more people that you allow access to your life are probably more spies or monitoring than they are actually
allies.
Mm. It's insane to have to limit people because they can also help you grow personally, professionally, refer all of that stuff too. But then you really start to have to monitor who you allow access. I feel like there's more people that just want to see what's going on within your life to use it maybe against you than it is like to actually help you.
Damn.
Be cautious.
Okay. Good to know. What's your biggest fear?
Oh my goodness. Not staying maybe true to myself and then showing my kids what it means to struggle and not succeed or push through. So my biggest fear is to not be able to be a good example or show them how to overcome or show them how to be gracious and empathetic for others in a world where it's so self-centered and so look at me. So to try to help them look upward, I would say, than trying to look inward.
Good to know. And then the last question I have for you, Casey, is where do you see yourself, your business, your life in 10 years from now?
In 10 years, I would love to be still doing what I'm doing, but be much more involved in contributing and incorporating. An example of just the surface of something. I'm starting to work with the high school and the curriculum. They've got all the different programs, graphic design, coaching, all these things where you can, if you want to do that in college or you want to pursue that for a career, you can start doing these classes and earning credit like work release programs.
Yeah.
They have a heavy graphic design technology program. And so because of teaching background, I know where to go pull the standards to offer to help students get experience doing that and earning credit, earning hours, but they are learning from me and working alongside me, but also completing tasks I need. And there's not anybody in the area doing that. That is someone that owns it And it also helps me get back, gives me that little bit of outlet of working with students again, which is what I still love to do. So evolving to where it's not just this .com mentality, this just huge, big, like how can we help kids be prepared for real life and also come along and work in an industry that is so big that you can get lost in it and not learn anything. And then how can you stay relevant? So trying to pair with what I do and then help teach others and then also learning and still working with youth. So I don't know. It's kind of like, we'll see.
Yeah.
So
Good deal. Casey, now I'm going to let you look to the microphone, look to the camera, and just advertise. Talk about what you want to talk about, plug what you want to plug. It is yours.
All right. Well, Casey Reynolds with K Reynolds Web Design and Development and Hammerhead Creations. And both services are to help others, whether it be an event to make someone feel loved, with a delivery, appreciation for teachers, your mom, your friends. And I do free deliveries in the town that I'm in. So, and I love traveling to other places to set up to help bring an idea to life or a service. And with my website design, I love creating things or coming along and helping things improve again to help set you up for better success. So if you need anything, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and hopefully my plugins will be involved in the podcast.
I was going to say, they will all be in the description so that you can easily access her and her stuff. Casey, I had a great time getting to know you today.
Thank you.
This was fun.
This was definitely fun.
Did you have an okay time?
I did. It was great. Definitely out of my comfort zone, but really easy and
Yes.
fun and super personable.
Good.
Really fun.
Good. So I can't wait to learn more from you and work together, I'm sure, at some point.
Sure.
And just see where it takes us. But
Awesome.
Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate you too.
Amazing. Guys, again, it'll all be in the description so that you can easily get to it and access it if you are in need of Casey and her services. Thank you so much for Fireworks for hosting us today. Again, like I said at the beginning, please just send this to one person in your life. That's all I ask, whether they listen on Apple, YouTube, or Spotify. Just one person. Just say, hey, I've got a podcast for you to listen to today, and it'll be really informative and good. There's a lot of value in this episode, There's a lot of marketing stuff, a lot of design stuff, a lot of collaboration with the community stuff. So someone will get value out of this. So send it to a person that you think needs it. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.